So what I have here is another project I've been working on for someone. Um, but what I wanted to talk about was this material I've used on this pillow down here. And it's a basic velvet shader. Once again, if you look down my material list, I haven't been very good at naming stuff. And this is something, I should pay more attention to, but I don't. So anyway, I want to append this velvet. I want to keep this velvet and append it into my library file. So let me just go to shade view. I'm going to select this velvet, and there it is, material 0011. So let me rename that. Let's call it purple velvet. Okay, I can save this file. And I can close it. And I'm back in. So let me append in, let's grab this. Let me append in that purple velvet. So append, go back to my desktop where that file is. It's actually called Chalice 3, which is this one. Double click it, go to materials. Somewhere in here should be my purple velvet. I can append that in. Right, that's appended in. So let me select this ball and let me change it to the purple velvet. And let's go to, it's a very simple shader, by the way. I can actually do that for now on it. It's just a velvet shader into material output. I've just mixed some Fresnel in it. So yeah, very simple material to make. Well, let me go to a rendered view. And you see, it doesn't quite look like the cloth that it was. It looks more like well, I don't know really. It doesn't quite look right. So what I want to do is, in this scene, I want to add something. I want to add a cloth that can drape over everything here. So it will look like a cloth and I'll get a more accurate representation. Let me go into this view. So what we can do is we can add a cloth that drapes over, and which we can hide and show in the outliner when we need to look at how cloth is going to look. So I'm just going to add a mesh plane. We can see it down there. Let me scale it up quite a bit. Alright, let me grab it on the Z-axis above. Right, everything else here I want to change to a collision surface. So let me select this, go to my physics tab, which is there, make that a collision. Let me make this inner ball a collision. Let me make this base a collision and the floor a collision. Now I can select my cloth. I'm going to need to subdivide it, so I'll go to edit mode, right click, subdivide, and probably, I don't know, about 75 cuts. Yeah, that's looking good enough for now. Right, let me come back to object mode. I'm going to go to layout here. And I want to make sure I'm on frame 0 with frame 1, so let me do that. Alright, let me run this cloth simulation, but before I do that, actually I probably want to put some, I thought I changed that cloth, I didn't. Well, cloth. As I was about to say, before I do that, I probably want to put some self-collision on it. Right, and I'll run this. Okay, so I'm going to let this just drape over the ball. And that's working nicely. I'm thinking, looking at this, I probably need it a little bit bigger. so let me pause that, because it's not going to drape down and across the floor, so I'm not going to get a really good kind of interpretation or idea of what it is. So let me scale this up a bit more. Let's have a look again at the geometry. I could probably subdivide that one more time. That'll be a bit better. Go back into object mode. We're at frame 1, so let me play this again. More subdivisions, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we'll just see how we go here. If it gets kind of too long, I will pause the video, which I think I'm going to do. Let me pause for a moment. Okay, so that's probably long enough for my purpose. So let me pause that. It's got kind of the shapes I want. That's paused. Let me go to numpad 0 to my camera view, and you can see I've got kind of flat bits, rounded bits, pleated bits. It's going to give me a good idea of what I want. So first thing I'm going to do is apply that cloth modifier to freeze that. Next thing I'm going to do is right click and shade smooth, so we got more of this cloth. Let's go to materials. I'm not going to add a new material because I already bought that purple velvet in. I can just check that. Let's go to rendered view and have a look. And there you see I've got my rendered purple velvet. Alright, now when you're making materials, is it a good idea to make it on this material ball? And generally I would say no. One good thing about this material ball is it quickly displays how materials can look, but I should say you should always try and make the materials on the object they're intended for. But it can be done, as something I'm going to see here. But anyway, this purple velvet, let me rename it selected, so let me rename this to cloth drop. And the reason for that is because if I don't want to see it, I can simply hide it and see the other object. So let me, here it is, let me change this back to light grey dark black stone, for example. Right, so I can see what my cloth is going to look like, or if I don't want a cloth, I want to see it on a hard material, a hard body material, I can change it back. Anyway, back to the cloth. Alright, so let me select this cloth, purple velvet. What happens if I've got this? Let's go to the shading tab for a minute. I've got this. Let's go to 0 there again. But I wanted a red velvet instead of a purple velvet. Well, of course I could change the colour here, but I want both colours in my material library. So what can I do here? Well, what I can do, let me come back to materials tab. What I can do is I can select all of these. I know 2 of these aren't used, but nonetheless, I can Control C to copy them. Control plus C. Let me now make a new material for this. So it'll be this button here, for new material. Let me change this to the new material, which would be material. Right, so that's a new black material. I can select all of these. Actually, that's my light material, isn't it? Purple Velvet 01, I'm sorry, you have the 01 extension. Right, so I could either change this right here, or if it was something totally different, I could X delete them, Control V to paste again, and obviously change this to a red. Something more kind of there. Alright, so I've now got this red velvet, and I could obviously change the name of this to red velvet, because purple velvet .001 means nothing anymore. But I've now got these two velvet materials in my file, and I can change them to preview them as I wish. And you know, obviously we could do the same with the stone and the woods and the leather, is make several variations, keep them all in this file. And so you can see we're starting to build up a material library that we can use. Let me save this material library. I've saved it with 28. That's fine, we'll save it as with 28. And let me open up a new instance of Blender. Might actually turn that to solid for now. Yep. Let me open up this new instance of Blender. There we go. So let me just, for example, I mean it could be anything, but I'm just going to add another Suzanne. Right, scale up a bit so I see what I'm working with. Going to add a subdivision modifier. Bring it up to 2. Let's apply that. Let's shoot smooth shader. Right, so to use our materials library, which I saved as week 28, but you'd be saving yours in your material library file. To use our material library file, we would go to materials tab, and if we look in, we've got no materials listed. Okay, or if you've added materials for other objects in the file, that's fine. But what we would do is we would append it in again from the materials library file. So file, append, look for our materials library file, which mine is called week 28 blend. Gonna double click that so I can open materials. And the materials I've added, not sure why it's not showing. The other stones, let's go up at a level. Okay. Let's come back to our materials file here. Let's change this to, let's say, light wood. And we're going to need to add, this is a step I missed and I apologise for this, we're going to need and add what's called a fake user. So each of the materials, let's do these in turn, okay? You see this light grey's got 4 instances. If I press where that 4 is, it'll become one of its own, and we can press again to add that fake user. You see the shield has the check mark in it. Let's do this for every material. The light wood, check that shield for the fake user. The purple velvet, check that shield for the fake user. Red velvet is already there, check that shield for the fake user. The stone with green, check that shield for the fake user. Again, we can save this, save. Let me come down. Now let me again append in file. Append. Now I can go back to my library file, which I've actually called week 28. Open it up, and when we come to the materials tab, we have all our materials listed in there. So if I wanted this Suzanne to have the light grey dark flex stone, append that in. And then when I press the drop down in this, that material is already there. And once again, I've got no light here, so let me just add a, just going to add a sunlight for a minute, just for quickness. So see, and once again, because I changed the scale on that fleck in the other file, I can change this back again. So let's select Cezanne. Let's go to Materials tab, which is there. Let's go to Shader, Shading, and I can change this back to 1, which I'll change to 13. There we go. So it's back how it is. So the fake user thing is going to be important. When you see the shield, you need to click it to make sure that the Blender file retains that, so when we append it in, it will work.